Hi, my name is Jeremy Lapalme, and I'm a writer on LOL Guardsman.
I'm Matt Bernard. I'm a writer and game designer on LOL Guardsman.
My name's Scott Christian, and I'm one of the co-directors of LOL Guardsman, and I'm the narrative director. So, LOL Guardsman has about 8,000 lines of dialogue, and I think 176,000 words total.
Something. Just counting.
And it's a big epic story with branching paths. So the task of writing LOL Guardsman was a big job, and I'd say the process developed pretty organically. The original concept sort of came out of my brain and my co-director Artem Komarov's brain. So going in, we knew sort of some major plot beats, which wiggled and changed, and some of the things we were certain of from day one are in the garbage bin, but there are also funny things that I thought would have been cut that are very important in the final game. So it was interesting when you guys joined the process, as we sort of figured out how to tackle and sort of divide and conquer writing this game.
It was kind of broken into three sections. There was the pre-shed activities, the actual shed turns themselves, and then the after shed exploration mode. And in some levels, the exploration mode is before the shed shift, all that. But we kind of broken into that, and then within those, do you want to take the pre-shed? Okay, with the exploration, there's 2 to 3 locations, so we'll each take a location for that. And then for the actual shed itself, it was, okay, we need 6 characters, seven NPCs to come through, okay? We'd all gather, we'd come up with a list of 10, and we'll say, okay, we'll whittle it down to the 6 that we want. And sometimes it was, you get to write the characters you brought forward. But other times you're like, oh, I have a pirate idea. Oh, I'll take that pirate idea and I'll take it and run. So sometimes you come to the table with these children you've created and someone else takes them and raises them. To put it that way.
Taking those characters and those moments and kind of running it through the three of us to make sure everything kept the same voice, especially Lil, to make sure that the characters were consistent. We don't want like one character to be written by, say, Matt and Lil's doing one thing and then another character written by Scott, and you're seeing a different character. So trying to keep everyone in the same world and keep a vocabulary the same, keep a tone running through the game with multiple writers was challenging and fun, and finding a way to keep the voice as unified as possible.
I'd say we'd come together and do an initial brainstorm session or talk about, okay, based on the outline, what needs to happen in this level. So a level is a day. Like Matt said, it's broken into sort of the component parts. And then we'd assign them, and we'd go away and do sort of a vomit draft or get it as far as we could, and then come back together and read it. And I'm fortunate to have Matt and Jer working, who are both phenomenal actors, so it was funny. It wasn't just sort of a dry read. You guys sort of played the characters. So I'd say one of the most important phases of writing was hearing it out loud, hearing it in the air, and getting a sense of how the comedy's going to actually play. Because reading it, you don't have any sense. And in the final version of our game, that's where the voice acting and having capable comedic actors lift it off the page brought it to life. So that was one of the most sort of joyful moments for me, and it was all over Zoom, hearing you guys crack each other up.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, one thing I often got scolded for was the length of something I'd write. Scott would, if it was my solo game, maybe we'd have 300,000 words, even more. But approaching rewrites is that I'd write at least this much, and these two would tell me, well, no, it can be this much, and then I'd fight for it to be that much. Brevity was a big thing for the game, especially aspects that the player controls the timing, and, to keep it bubbly and then moving forward. It was rewrites were how concisely can we get across what we're trying to say and joke about.
There is a character that's been used in almost every promotional opportunity for LOL Guardsman since the beginning, which is the Man on Fire, which is the guy screaming, just engulfed in flames. Not in the full game. Not in the game. Like, hit the cutting room floor. But it's such a good screenshot.
It was drawn. It was illustrated and voiced.
Jeremy, can you speak to a character that Matt and I were certain would be cut, which is Sprankles the cat?
Oh, God.
There's a reference to Sprankles the cat that was made kind of in passing. It was one of these, like, it was a placeholder in one of the daily writs, which is Lil's daily instructions from the hires up of what to do. There was a reference to, there was a cat named Sprankles would be arriving in its miniature carriage and give it all of the respect and reverence due Sprankles. And so I wrote a character who is entirely devoted to Sprankles the cat and their unfortunate demise and the cat funeral with all of the pomp and ceremony that Sprankles deserved. And that was an example of where one placeholder line then sparks a character, the Duchess of Scarborough,
That's it, yeah.
who would continue to arrive throughout the game. You kind of softly are tracking the story of the Duchess and the entire Duchy of Scarborough because of their devotion to Sprankles the cat.
And then there was the in chapter 2, Sprankles, the corpse of Sprankles the cat was going to be mechanized into some kind of warrior robot.
A Gundam Sprankles.
A Gundam Sprankles to help win the war.
But I reserve the use of Mecha Sprankles for future DLC or sequel purposes.
Registered. I mean, the old saying goes, dissecting comedies like dissecting a frog. Only a couple people are interested, and the frog ultimately dies of it. But luckily, we're people interested in dissecting comedy.
Killed many frogs.
The pond is empty.
R.I.P.
I'll jump on that one. One moment that I created that I like a lot is with a character, Stabitha Greaves. And giving away a lot about the turn is that normally Lil has the ability to phone call one of the advisors for help and advice. But if the player clicks on the phone, it's revealed by Stabitha that, oh, I cut the phone line kind of a thing. So it's real horror movie, the line's cut, you can't call for help. And depending on what you do with Stabitha, at the end of the turn, it fades out, but then fades right back in. She's right behind Lil and says, oh, by the way, I'll fix your phone, kind of a thing. So the gag that I like is we got to play with the horror elements of, it's not a jump scare, but it's a, oh, surprise, by the way, we forgot to tell you something. And that plays into the horror and plays into the character, and that's a moment I really enjoyed seeing come to life.
Sorry, I forgot I cut your phone line and didn't fix it. I hate to leave you vulnerable.
That's very considerate of you, Stabitha.
One of the characters that I wrote for as an NPC coming through the gate is a pirate brewmaster, who, again, liberal sprinkles of spoilers will be coming through this, but if you leave the pirate to their own devices, the pirate will talk to you in a "Yar, how old sea dog" kind of voice.
Avast, Petey! There blows a fine upstanding guardsman.
Upstanding guardsman,
And there are ways within the turn that you can call the pirate on this, like, that is a terrible accent, nobody's mind, and they'll switch from their tourist voice to, okay, yeah, I don't actually speak like an old sea dog, but the tourists love it, and it's part of, so having the opportunity to either go through and let the pirate do its, sing their pirate shanties and do all the piratey stuff, or to call them on it and, all right, let's cut the crap and get a normal turn going, was a lot of fun to write.
Please stop using that stupid voice. I'm not a tourist.
Yeah, okay, fair enough.
As well as being on the writing team for LOL Guardsman, I also had the distinct honor of voicing several of the characters in the game. One of the ones that we knew right off the bat that I was going to be voicing is the court jester Malcolm, one of Lil's trio of advisor characters with a particular bent to do the most chaotic thing you possibly can, ruin things. Giving the player that kind of nudge to, like, try to be as awful as you can. That was the character. And so I knew I was going to be voicing that, and it was such a blessing to go into the writing process being able to voice it myself, just knowing, like, okay, it's going to be my voicing, so I'm going to be able to phrase it out in ways that are appealing to me and that would work with my sensibilities. But it also kind of became the the kind of baseline for what are the bad, like, how can we give the player the opportunity to do bad things because someone else has told you to. So voicing that little devil,
on the shoulder
character was so much fun, and the influences of that very much, like Mark Hamill as the Joker was a big vocal kind of inspiration for that kind of maniacal court jester type character. And having our voices not just written on the page but also literally our voices in the game was a great way to keep us on track with writing.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't you know the louder you are, the more important you are? That's why I'm so powerful! Let my loud, bossy, jackass friend through!
And you have a voice cameo.
I do have a voice cameo.
Can you speaking Latin?
I didn't intend to voice anything in the game. I'm not an actor. But there's a character where you're sucked into a parallel dimension and you go toe-to-toe with a demon who speaks Latin. Thank you, Google Translate. And it's fun in that turn. All of the text, like if you look at the Royal Writ, it's translated into Latin. It's very fun.
Oh, Latin.
But we were assigning characters, and we prepped all the character scripts. And I'm looking, and it's not a long turn, but it's enough, and it like to expect an actor to figure out the Latin pronunciation.
To read a dead language.
Yeah, to read a dead language. So I'm like, fine, I'll do it. And Matt was with me for all the recordings, but I made him leave. I said, no, I'll do this by myself. So it's me in my basement studio in the middle of the night, listening to the Google say the Latin at me, and sort of a couple words at a time repeat it back in character.
You got a lot of concerned phone calls from neighbors. What's going on down there? I'm hearing Latin, I'm hearing tongues.
Yeah. But it worked out, and if no matter how mediocre your performance is, if you shift it down an octave, it sounds real cool.
Oh yeah, you can get away with speaking Latin poorly.
Well, thank you guys.
Thank you. This was lovely.